talking about American Pharoah yesterday, and you said before you had got him, you had heard the word freak and all these different things about how great this horse was. Tell us just how a
Yeah,
bit of a feeling you got.
American Pharoah. When the owner called me up, he says, I think I have this horse on the farm, and everybody says he's just a freak of nature. And I actually trained his sire, Pioneer the Now, who ran second in the Kentucky Derby, and he was a nice horse. And but but the way they were talking about this horse, matter of fact, they told me we need to send him to you because he's outgrown this racetrack. He's just a freak of nature, and he shows up and here's his horse with his tail is about that long, has been
Hmm.
eaten up by another horse, whatever, and he just started coming along, and he was a little bit high strung. It took a while to get him to get him mellowed out. His first race was a complete disaster. He had blinkers on. He went and he was just going crazy. He was just so he was just too jacked up.
Hmm.
He was just jacked up, and he was just shying from everything. He acted up in the gate. He broke out of the gate. He ran about a quarter of a mile and just quit running. He wore himself out going to the gate. He was just a complete madman. So that week we were working with him, schooling him. We'd take him up there, and we noticed that he was walking along, and some guy turned on a tractor, and when he heard the noise, he just jumped, and it freaked him out. And we thought, wow, he's very sensitive to noise. And so what we did is we put some little ear muffs, little cotton in his ears, and as soon as we did that, he was a different horse.
Wow.
He was Mr. Cool, and he always wore earplugs. I bought these earplugs. I bought these earplugs. I went on the internet and bought earplugs for like $6.99, and that changed that horse into the champion that he is. It was amazing. It was like he went from jacked up to just Mr. Chill.
Right.
And from that day on, then he just kept on and grinded out. But watching him train, I really miss watching him train because his mechanics were just unbelievable. The way he'd throw and when he get out there in the lead, the Kentucky Derby got me a little bit nervous. He didn't really bring his A game that day, and he was on the outside. And we were holding him back, and he got up and won it. But it wasn't like we kept waiting for this. But his Preakness was just. I mean,
he beat the thunderstorm. He beat everything.
Thunderstorm. He kept on running, and then going up to the Belmont, I know the Triple Crown was so difficult. I'd been there, but I just knew that if this is the kind of horse you win it with. And once he got the lead in the first turn, and he got his mechanics going, had those ears up, I was watching that. I'm going like, wow, I think he's going to get it done. And it was one of the greatest sports places I've ever been to. Usually you go to a football game or whatever, half the crowd's for half the team or whatever. But everybody was there to watch him. Everybody felt this is a horse. This is the horse that's going to do it. There've been 37 years, and I was telling my younger son Bodie, I said, there's going to be some hecklers. They always heckle me when I come up here. They're going to say not today and all that, and he was very disappointed because not one person heckled that horse. They all were there to see him. So it was one of the greatest sporting events that I've ever been to because when he turned for home and he was on the lead, and I just knew, I said, man, I think he's going to do it. But I still wasn't, I knew I've seen good horses just get beat.
Quiet looked at that way.
But this horse just caught another gear when that horse came to him, and I never really rooted for him or nothing. I just watched in awe of watching him come down. I still, to this day, I watch myself. I was just like, I was just thinking to myself, like, man, it's happening. We're making history, and the place was so loud, and it was rumbling. Belmont's huge. Got 100,000 people just, and the place is shaking and loud, and it was loud. He was past the wire. It was loud for a good minute or so, just screaming, everybody going crazy, crying. And so just to be involved with something like that was just really just it'll be probably one of the greatest moments in racing for me.